Could I just have each of you introduce yourself, your name and what you did on Warrior Nun?
Okay, who starts?
I think you should go first, Vanessa.
Okay, I'm Vanessa. I've been doing stunts since 10 years. I'm training stunts, but I shoot for 5 years. And Warrior Nun was my biggest project. I was Ava's stunt double, and it was quite a big challenge for me. Yeah, that's all.
I continue. My name is Tanja. I've been doing stunts for about 10 years. I have a martial arts background, and I was Lorena's Lilith double.
And I'm Joe. I've been doing stunts for a lot less than these two. And I was Christina's double, playing Beatrice. And like Tanja, I have a martial arts background as well, which really helped for this project.
Can we go back around and you tell me what made you want to get into stunt work, or how it happened?
Well, for me, that was love at first sight. I met a friend of mine, and we were talk to each other. Hey, how's it? How life is going? And I told him that I was in the university, first year. He told me, okay, you go and find that person. He told me the name of my stunt trainer, Emil Videv. But he didn't tell me who I'm looking for and what is that, what kind of person is that, and he didn't tell me any what's the reason for looking for that person. And I was like, okay, but what is it? And he told me, you will like it, just go there. And the funny thing is that at that moment I was practicing yoga, and I was yoga teacher, so I was quite distracted from the action and adrenaline. I was on the other side, I would say. And when I go there, that was, I won't forget that memory, because I opened the door of the training hall. It was a gymnastic training hall, and it was full of people falling from the ceiling, smashing on the ground, free running, fighting with swords, with any different kind of weapons. And I was like, oh my God, what is that place? And my heart just stayed there, and for the first time.
Awesome.
It was so funny when I think I was the last person to come onto the team, and I come in and everyone's in a circle, and we're all introducing ourselves before we do some group training, and everyone goes round and says, okay, what's your name, what's your background? And then these like Lee the coordinator, wushu, blah 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 blah, Kai's kung fu, these style. We have Krav Maga. I'm Taekwondo, and then Vanessa is like one of the last ones and just goes yoga.
Yeah, I remember that.
So funny. But it's super useful.
But that skill, actually, she would almost every day do like a 20 minutes yoga session with us. It was really, really good. So how I get involved into stunts, I think I've been starting martial arts when I was pretty young. I think the age of 7, and I think when I was about 16 years old, I met someone in my training dojo. He was about to become a stuntman, actually. And then I saw how he shot a lot of short films and doing a lot of fun stuff, and kind of asked me to if I want to be part of one of the short films. And that was basically my first experience ever shooting a fight scene. And then I got to know more stunt people and how everything is basically working, or like how many skills you can actually have as a stunt person. And that's how I started to train and get inspired by other stunt people and actually learned that it's a job.
I had no idea that stunts was a job until my early 20s. I'm late 20s now. But yeah, so I did martial arts as well since I was young, a few different styles. And yeah, it was only actually until after university, I finished university, I was working like a normal person. And I was just like, oh, I don't like this. And I kind of went through all my jobs that I've done in the past. I'm like, what do I like? What don't I like? And I was trying to figure out something that kind of fit a lot of these in. And then that's when I found out from someone I used to do like fighting competitions with on our team. He was a stuntman. And I just started asking questions. And the more I asked, I was like, okay, this is sounding kind of perfect. You just, very creative. Even when I was working kind of a 9-to-5 office job, I would train all the time. And, the stunt industry permits, as part of your job, to train constantly and learn new skills and get better at your current skills. So yeah, that's how I found out, and here we are still.
Is there a kind of like a union, or is there certain clubs that like you go to train in?
I think each country is different. Every country has a not completely, but a different system of how they operate within the stunt industry. So that's, a big variety of things and ways to get in and things to train, because even within stunts, there are some people that are super good, like they're good at everything, or you have people that are specialize in smaller things like fighting, whereas you might not get a good fighter and a good horse rider and a good high fall person and a good, because there are so many most like activity within stunts. So yeah, that's a really big question of kind of how it works.
Right.
Bulgaria, actually, we tried to do association to bring together all the stunt society in Bulgaria, but it didn't work. It's kind of difficult because of politics and blah blah. Yeah, when there are different clubs, we train together with people from our, I wouldn't say club, but group, different groups, and it's usually kind of question about politics and money, unfortunately, and that's why this association didn't work here. And yeah, everyone here is working basically like freelancers.
So it's all about who you know in the industry.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Good contacts, and that person worked with you, and he will recommend you to another person. And I guess all of us got a lot of jobs like that in that way.
One of the things that Lee talked about in his interview was trying to find the stunt doubles because the originals weren't available. And so he went looking on the internet and on Instagram for that. Is that how you all were approached?
Actually, I've known Lee since I'm like 11 or 12 years old.
Okay.
We met on a martial arts competition when we were younger. So like we knew each other from before, but actually never had the chance to actually work together. So Warrior Nun was the first project we actually got the chance to work together. yeah, with Lee and Kai for me.
For me, it's almost the same. I knew from the whole crew, I knew only Kai. He actually called me for that job, but we didn't work together at all. He was 4 years before we shot Warrior Nun. He was shooting Kung Fury in Bulgaria, and I wasn't in that project, but my best friend was working with him, and we just met there and did some videos for fun for us, not for work. And actually Kai didn't know how much exactly of what I'm capable of, and it was a big responsibility for me to show him and the whole crew what exactly I can do, and for him also, because he didn't know exactly what I can. So it was kind of risky, I would say. But I hope that at the end this result is positive for everyone.
Not as risky as me, because
Oh yeah.
I didn't know anyone from the team, because so I'm UK based and Warrior Nun shot in Spain, and the coordinators were German. So it's kind of, you know, the UK have their stunt industry, and then Europe has their stunt industry. But Kai, yeah, he found me off Instagram. I used my Instagram profile. It's not one of these massive Instagram profiles with 100,000 followers. Like, I only have a few thousand. But I use it as, you know, to show almost like a portfolio, I guess, of like my work, how I fight, my style, what I can do. And I just have it there. So if people want to see more, you know, maybe they hear a good thing about you and they're like, oh, but I don't actually know what this person can do. Like, that's what I use my Instagram for, to show my skill set. And yeah, so I think he found me somehow on there. I think from kind of seeing like a kick or something that I did. And Beatrice, as you know, is a very technical martial arts style. So I think that was something he was looking for, to be able to match Helen Tran from first season. So yeah.
Well, you all did an amazing job from a fan standpoint.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree. Like, even though you're telling me that some of the things you learn on the set, or that, I mean, like, it is something that you were not familiar with, like, we as fans do not notice that. For us, it was more so like, oh, this is perfect. I think I can definitely recognize like Joe's kicks from like with the one on, like, whenever I'm looking at the fight scenes, like, you can just show me like the bottom of like everything that's going on, like, that's Joe.
But yeah, glad everyone enjoyed it so much. Yeah.
What's one thing that you loved most about doing the stunts?
Like in general or on the
Yeah.
show?
Well,
In general.
in general.
Like for me personally, it's express the skill set I've learned over my life, basically. Always keep on growing in martial arts, express it in kind of like for people to watch it on film screen, and keep on learning every day, because you have to learn and keep learning every day for that job. And definitely a big part of stunts for me is just the teamwork on every project you need to have. It just gives you, it's just, I think it's just very important.
Yeah, she said a lot of things that probably we all agree with that. If I have to say only one thing, challenging myself every day, because if you want to be good at stuff and to be better, you have to train every day. And definitely that life won't be enough for me to learn everything that I want. And maybe, yeah, I won't have enough courage to learn everything that I want, but it's quite challenging for me to see so many different moves, to find so many different ways how my body can move, and to create with my body.
But Vanessa's extreme. Vanessa's like one of those people who just, you know, just challenge herself to the max.
Yeah.
I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, she just
I-
hang from a bar.
But I
as long as
think
she
you
can
all
or
do that.
something.
It's not just Vanessa. I think the whole team. It was just like,
Then what it means means my criticism and perfect want to do everything perfect, and if it's not perfect, I'm not counting it like successful at all. You mean that this, Joe, right?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
generally your personality. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Vanessa, it's good, okay? It's like, no, it's shit. Wait, can I swear?
You're fine. You're fine.
And to answer your question, for me, it's same as what Tanja and Vanessa said, and but it's a extra bonus if within the action we can also show a story, not just action for the sake of action, but if you can portray a story through an action scene without even saying anything, just through your movement, I think that's really impressive, and I think that's kind of the whole point of what the audience wants to see as well.
Yeah, no, the movement aspect that's the unseen heroes usually people don't give enough credit to. So being able to, as you put it, say stuff without actually physically saying anything, like that can be more powerful than any word. So
Yeah, actually, there is a lot of similarity between actors and stunts, and I think it's for actors, their biggest power is their speech, and our biggest power is our movement. But we all express and try to express the same thing, but in different ways.
yeah, I think also one of the most exciting parts of being a stunt performer is when you start the preps and you kind of, especially for doubles, find out what kind of character you're gonna be double and what kind of move she or he has, and creating new moves together with the stunt coordinator and fight coordinator. I think that's like one of the most exciting parts in stunts.
Have you all like ever considered like acting, or is it stunts that is your passion?
I never tried acting, so stunts are for me, for sure.
I think you have to, you know, to a degree, like kind of know how to act. Otherwise, you know, the person you're playing, the person you're doubling, no one's ever going to believe that. So there is an element of performance, you know, without speech in what we do already. And, you know, that's something that people as stunts, I think, often forget about. You know, you can do all these cool things, but if you can't perform, then, you know, there's always something lacking. So, you know, almost stepping into acting is an extension of the performance. But, you know, doing lines is, you know, it's very different. Doing lines is different to, as the actors on Warrior Nun, you know, they didn't, when they were doing their fights, you know, they do a different type of performing. And, you know, if we do the speaking, it's not going to be as good. But yeah, it's something. I don't think I personally couldn't go into complete drama acting, but kind of action acting, or if you're playing a part like an action actor. I recently I did a small, I'll show you guys when it's out. It's for Comedy Central. So it's like a comedy fight scene where I play myself, well, not myself, but you see my face and I'm not a double. And that was a good experience. That was a really nice experience. because you get more clarification with the director, because as doubles, we don't get as much character development, you know, from the director who makes the choices. Sometimes we speak to our actresses to confirm, like, kind of what are we going for in this scene. But yeah, so that was nice for me to be like, okay, so what am I feeling? Or like, do you want me to do it like this, or do you want me to do it like this? And they'll give you an answer as an actor, whereas we don't get that as a stunt.
Really, when we shot our premises, Kai and Lee really wanted from us, even Hannes was shooting the premises, they wanted to act, to act. And I remember the last fighting scene with Ava and Adriel and Lilith. There were a lot of lines, and Kai told us to try to act and to say all the lines, and it was horrible for us.
There are a lot of bloopers in that. I remember that, actually.
Oh my the disaster because of the lines. And yeah, we try all the time. We try to act, even with expression of the face, but it was difficult also for us to act with face, because we had our masks while shooting the premises, and we had only to act with eyes, which is even more difficult. But yeah, that is kind of the job. And it's good because you see yourself in different light, as Joe said.
Netflix released the bloopers.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
don't really
actually,
do that anymore. You used to get that on films, right? On DVD, and then there would be the blooper, and you don't get that at all now with streaming.
No,
Actually, we
that
have
was that
blooper
bonus
reel.
at the end.
What?
That was the bonus at the end of the movie. So
Yeah.
with the DVDs, it'd be
Yeah.
like extras and bloopers. Wait till the end. Now you don't get the incentive to scroll through.
Yeah.
We had our bloopers video, but it was our from the team, and all the stupid things that we did for these 5 months of shooting.
If you ever want to share those, we would love to. Yeah.
You'd have to contact Hannes for that.
Yeah.
He made it. It's his decision if he wants to let the
Gotcha.
world see.
Quite
There are quite many funny moments actually while we shot previous.
Yeah, but it's side jokes also, so probably you understand everything from that long blooper video.
Charlie, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, sure thing. I'm just trying to imagine the bloopers by myself. Sorry. But I guess to kind of like backtrack to everything we have said, whenever you think about the show and kind of like your experience with it and kind of like how everything went, did you train separately, or like that you typically like train with the person that you were doubling, and how did your training schedule kind of like consist of? Because filming, from what I understand, it's a very long and tedious process.
Well, we had like every day was training for us. While when we were not on the shooting, we were basically almost every day in the stunt warehouse. We would come in at, was it 9 a.m. every morning, and we would do like a warm-up together, stretch together, do a small workout, and then most of the time the actors would come at 10 for like 2-3 hours. So we would train together with the actors, and then after that we would basically prep for the previous for the action sequences for Warrior Nun. But like each of us would have the time to train together with our actors. I think it was very important. also to like just to spend time together and study movements together and learn choreography together. So yeah, we train together with our actors.
And it was on like a week-to-week basis where production would determine their schedules based on what scenes they were filming, and then they would come in for the days that they could, because they had super, like you said, super hectic schedules, not only to film, but then come in and expend a lot of energy learning fight scenes. It was a lot. It was a lot. They did really well.
And so, did you have to adjust the way that you move to match the actresses that you were standing in for? Did you have to study that?
Yeah, we do. You kind of watch how they walk, how they move. And like for me, Christina, with her dance background, it's kind of, she does move very differently to how I move with my fighting background. So there was a lot of adjustment for me and like posture as well. Whenever I had to play her, like a lot of the time Christina did pretty much everything. But there was, you're always there on set with them and there just in case. They, if something happens and they don't want to do it, then you do it. But you do have to study them and how they move to make it believable when you're doing anything.
Yeah, I think a stunt double always watches the actors. Like even though, like if we were trained together in the stunt warehouse, we would always see how do they do their movements in case we jump in, how they end their movements, how they do the steps, how they walk, like Joe said. So it's really important for us to match our actors.
How do you do that? Like, you just have to concentrate on each movement?
Well, it's difficult because it's more like learning another technique. I would say that I had the same problem, if I can say that it was a problem at all, but as Joe, because me and Alba, we're not the same as structures, and I have more muscles. She's more feminine than me. She's very tiny, and I would say that it was more difficult for me to get into her shoes. But I would say that Alba also tried to copy some of my moves, and it wasn't the idea that was coming from me. She was just really dedicated to learn the things, and if she liked any of the moves, she was trying to perform better, and that's why she was trying to increase her technique. And she was fighting really good, actually, and not only her, but all the actors. They were so involved in that, and they were so committed to that. They wanted to learn as many as things they can, and if they have enough time, probably they would be in the warehouse every day.
Yeah, I think we just had like a very good connection with the stunt department and all the actors. We kind of trusted each other in a good way. So yeah, the teamwork was quite on point.
Is it hard to train so much and then have the actresses do most of the stunts? Or is it more of a proud moment?
Yeah, it's not at all. It's each production varies on kind of how much the actors want to do, how much they're permitted to do if it's something really dangerous. But at the end of the day, you're there to support them and make them look as good as possible, whether that's doing it yourself because they don't have the time, or sometimes when production shoot on 2 units, the actors on first unit and the stunt doubles doing the action on second unit. It's not even, you know, an option for them to say, I want to do that or I don't want to do that. But as the guy said, the actors were so keen to do their stuff and they had really good energy and they put the work in. And for us, that's all that matters. So if they want to do it and they want to train, then, you know, and like you said, you are proud because at the end of the day, you're teaching them as well. So how they perform is also a reflection on the double. Even if we're not doing it, we walk everything through with them. And, you know, from the beginning of learning the first 3 moves to performing the whole scene with the stunt guys they're fighting, and, you know, the area and the chaos that surrounds them. And so, yeah, it's super good either way.
Yeah, being stunt is not only shooting, it's the whole process, as Joe said. The fighting, the teaching, the learning and supporting, everything. You can't, for the whole show, maybe you won't appear in front of the camera as a stunt at all, but it doesn't mean that you weren't involved in the whole process. You went through every other step. It's just your actor who is good enough to perform and has enough time to learn everything.
I think that's very interesting because, yeah, one of the, I guess, like little bits of facts that we learned at the beginning of, like, whenever the second season aired was like a lot of the actors wanted to do their own stunts. So I guess it's something that always was on the back of my mind. I was like, how does that even work? Like, of course, like we have the doubles, but like it's interesting to see, like, to know what your process behind that was, which apparently it seems like you taught them how to do that. And I think that's really, really interesting. And I think, yeah, I mean, that's amazing. Like, I think your work is showing through, and it's really interesting to see how that was all carried through.
Yeah. But the most important thing is that they wanted to learn the things, because if the person in front of you doesn't want to learn something, it's very difficult. We had some kind of issues like this, but when you see that someone is not so involved and dedicated, you're not pushing these people, because after all, actors are there for doing their the acting, and stunts are these who are fighting and who are making the action. So if someone doesn't want to do that, it's fine, it's totally their right. And if you see, we pushed a lot of the actors just because we saw they wanted to do that and they wanted to learn as much as possible.
I guess in that line, what was the hardest stunt that you had all about you?
The hardest stunt?
Yes.
I think the wire work's always hard, right, guys? Because it's...
Yeah, for me, it was definitely the Lilith when she came out of the arc, the table fall with the twist. We prepped it with the wire in the stunt warehouse and on location one day before the shoot. That was, I think, my most difficult stunt on the show.
Yeah, so that's something where Tanja, in that case, you know, Tanja, the double, has to do it because there's too much risk to put the actor in the wire and to take a fall and a hit on a solid surface that hard. So that's where you have the doubles play in. But like, I know Alba did a lot of wire work, right, Vanessa? And Christina was in the wire sometimes as well. And yeah, it's just quite uncomfortable. So it's not the nicest thing to do.
I would say for me, wire work, I was basically flying on wires. Yeah, just levitating. I had some kind of stunts that were more serious, but not that serious as Tanja's falls. I would say that my biggest and hardest stunt on this show was when we had to jump together with Mirko. Mirko was the stunt double of Miguel, and we had to jump together from through a hole which was wide, 1 meter and 1 meter wide, and we had to jump to land on boxes. And it was quite tricky because both of us, we know how to land properly and safety, but the tricky part was that from these 7 meters, we were supposed to keep our straight bodies, like really straight as much as possible, because we had to sell that we are going through the tunnel. And that was very difficult task because the height is not enough. 7 meters is not enough to keep your body perfectly straight and to land how you have to land safety, which is flat back.
Does the stunt team have a say in the costumes design, or is it like, do the costumes like get in the way of the work? How did that all work out with the costumes?
So you have to, I think what made this production work so well is the trust everyone placed in each department. And, each department is full of, talent in that area. And you leave that department to do their thing. And you just, when we go for our fittings, we just say, like, normally if like the actor would wear like a boot with like a big heel, we would say, do you have something with a smaller heel? Because I'm jumping from, I'm like falling on a wire onto my feet from 10 meters. And if I do it with a big heel, that's probably going to be a high risk of injury. So do you have anything smaller? So it's more just notes that make things safer for you when you're performing. And then also, you translate those similar things across to your actor because they're wearing the same thing. But everything has to be a compromise. And if we were in a perfect world, we do our previs in sportswear. So like, that's what we want to do. That's what we like filming in, but we can't go, can we wear sportswear? Like, it's not going to happen because you need these fantastic costumes to make the series what it is. So yeah. I think like the leather for me, because like it just made my posture better. It was like, this is actually helping because now I'm more like Christina instead of like my slouchy fighting stance. I'm like, okay, this is good. This is helping.
Yeah, but you had your white trousers. That was quite comfortable.
I had a comfy outfit. Yeah, my baggy trousers. Yeah, I was good.
Yeah. Usually in stunts, it's most of the time you have this fancy, pretty badass costume that is not comfortable at all. But this is it. If you want to play the double, if you want to look good, you have to get over that and to adjust for these things. And not only the costume, actually, I had to wear a wig, which was very tough for me time, with this hair underneath that wig. Every day I was feeling that these very hard pieces of the wig, and yeah, you have to get used to that. That's all.
I was wondering about that, if you had to cut your hair or
I had. Oh my God, that was very. I think this was the hardest part of the show for me. I went to Spain with my hair under my boobs. And then I had to cut my hair until here. And I cried before that, during the cut, and after that. But yeah, it's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
But you still have to wear a wig to match.
Yeah, thing is, I have a lot of hair, like really a lot, and it's white and quite volumed, and the wig, it was super short and small, and they couldn't manage to get the whole hair underneath, so they had to cut it. And I felt that need at the in the end of the show, because 3 weeks before we end up, my hair, of course, grew a lot for 4 months shooting, because they cut it at the beginning, and I felt that it grew a lot, and it was quite difficult to fit everything underneath the fig the last 3 weeks.
Actually, coming back to the costume part for stunts, I think for our stunt doubles, it's really important that we also can fit our pads under each leather costume. So we had actually specific fittings for if you have to wear a harness under those leather costumes, or if we have extra hard case padding, if there's like a hard fall involved. So I think in my case, I think actually in everybody's case, we had 2 costumes. So
Yeah.
one for padding and where we could fit our harnesses underneath, and one which is looking tight on our body. So it looks good on camera to double our actors.
So say you guys were doing some sort of like movements, right? And the costume itself like prevented you from being able to fully do that movement. Would they then go in and manipulate just a bit so that you guys could perform what you needed to, but the costume stay intact?
Well, sometimes the costume limits you, for
Right.
sure. Not only because, one example, I need to make some slide, and the leather is sticky on the ground, and I cannot make the good slide. Or it's very tight, and you cannot do that flexible kick as you can usually with comfortable clothes. But that's why you have to train, and usually you cannot perform 100% as good as you are on training, because of all these different things that are showing up when you start to shoot. On the training, you train with comfortable clothes, with your hair tight on ponytail or wherever, and you're feeling in the environment and everything, you're very comfortable with everything. And when you go to shoot, the costume, the wig, the shoes, and not only this, but sometimes it happens that you perform something, you rehearse something, and when you go there, you have to adjust with some changes, which usually actually happens a lot, very often, to change something during the process.
Yeah, I can't think of any examples, but it does happen, like small things, and you come to a solution with whatever department is involved, whether it's props or costume, to try and figure out, okay, this is the problem. What do we need to do to change it? Like within what we can do. So, it's a team effort to find a solution if there is something that gets in the way.
Yeah,
I heard
it happens sometimes that the costume would just rip on some movements. I think it happened to
That
all of us.
I was figuring y'all had some malfunction issues because your movements are required like a lot of extension. Leather doesn't give too well.
No.
Is that
Yeah.
something that you have to go in and measure with the costume designer, or is it a member of her team?
Yeah, when you go in for your fitting, you try and, you know, with the information you have, because I mean, with the fittings, sometimes you don't know what you'll be like. For me, I had the same costume, so I couldn't foresee anything that hadn't been choreographed already, you know, like the next 5 fights or whatever. But you know, you go into that first costume and you try and foresee as much as you can. Like I said, with the shoes, if they're just too high, it's just too dangerous. And you try and communicate with the liaise with the department to kind of do this, or you know, if you just do this and you can't move, then you're like, we need to find a solution so I can move my arms. So things like that you try and foresee, but you know, no matter how much you think ahead, you're never going to think of everything.
I heard one thing that in the last scene that the floors were too slippery, and so they had production come in to make the floors less slippery for the work.
That
Yeah,
was the
I think- sorry. I think actually like Lee, our stunt coordinator, he was always making sure about safety. So I remember that location. There was also a lot of dust involved. So he made sure that it's safe for the actors to perform on that. It was kind of like a stage, and also for the stunt performers, that every stunt goes safe. Like Vanessa did a nice fall on that stage, I remember. So yeah, actually Lee, he always communicated with departments if something was unsafe, or if there could be some adjustments to make the stunt better or safer. So he was a big part of that.
I guess a lot of the fandom, including us, would like your take on how it was to work with Alba, Christina, and Lorena.